Very good morning to one and all. The neighbors asked me whether there's any passage to read or not. I say yes, and we start with this. We'll be studying the word long-suffering from various passages or even verses from the Bible. And I want to thank God for the opportunity to speak to you, especially to conclude your retreat this year. When Andrew asked me to preach and he gave me the topic, I have decided to divide it into two: serving God and with long suffering. But then yesterday morning, Pastor mentioned that Preacher Andrew preached a very good message about serving God, the opening message. So he told us that we should not emphasize on serving, but rather serving God. So long suffering will be our topic this morning. And that's the reason why we read verse 1 to 7 only. If you notice, the parable actually ends on verse 8. So look at verse 7, Luke 18 verse 7. The word bear long is the word long suffering. Okay? So we are going to a study of this word first, and as the Lord has placed the thoughts in my mind, I have listed it in this order. Hopefully it will be clear. May God's Spirit help us to understand His word today. Long suffering is a compound word. In other words, it's made up of words. Okay. In English, literally translated, it will mean long temper. Long temper in opposition to short temper. And this has to do with anger, right? You know, short fuse. So it's the opposite. And how to explain long suffering? Really, it's a very mind-boggling thought. So I prayed that the Lord will help me to explain it in a simple manner. And this is how it's going to be. Okay, we will look at it from two aspects. Firstly, long suffering is that quality of self-restraint in the face of provocation. In other words, it does not hastily retaliate or even promptly punish. Okay, so that's long suffering. And that's why we read Luke 18 verse 7. He bare long with them. He was patient with them. And this has to do with God. If God is long suffering, that's where I want to begin. Our God is a long-suffering God. Many of us will not stand before Him because of our sin. But God is long-suffering toward us, that He did not punish us according to our sins. So maybe you can say it is the opposite of anger, and it is associated with mercy. I hope you understand the meaning of mercy. Mercy is restraining punishment that is due. Here I often explain it in this way. As a child, we make mistakes and we deserve to be punished. But often when we see the cane, what do? Please don't cane me, right? So when the cane was pulled back, that is a restraint, that is a show of mercy. Okay, that is also an expression of long suffering. Now the second thing about patience will be, did I say patient? Long suffering will be patient. Okay? Another word will say it will be patient. So this aspect, it is referred to in this manner. It is the quality that does not surrender to circumstances nor succumb under trials. Okay? So this is the opposite of despondency. despondency, meaning low spirit or hopelessness. Okay, so long-suffering can be translated as patient, and this word patient is associated with hope. Okay, it is associated with hope. And all these definitions that I've given you, they are taken from Vine's dictionary, okay, for theological terms. Now coming into the biblical aspect, having understand this word, and this is how we're going to study it from two aspects, from self-restraint to not surrendering, okay? So we're going to look into the Bible. First of all, like I said, God is long-suffering. Let's turn to 2 Peter. Okay, a very familiar verse, 2 Peter 3:15. This has to do with salvation. God is long-suffering in that He wants all to be saved. Right? That's why we read 2 Peter 3:15. On account that the long-suffering of our Lord is salvation. And the long-suffering of our Lord is salvation. It tells us that God is long-suffering and He is patient. Patient with sinners. And like what I've said just now, if God were to be impatient with us, we will not be able to stand before Him. Now, turn to 1 Peter. Okay, we are looking at chapter 3 and verse 20. 1 Peter 3:20. Which sometimes were disobedient when once the long-suffering of God waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water. Now these two verses tell us that God is long-suffering. Especially in the days of Noah, which we read, it is a reminder. The Apostle Peter told the Jewish congregation that he was writing to, the long-suffering of the Lord. Now it is not a short period of time. I want to remind you, according to theologians, this period while the ark was preparing, it was 120 years. Remember, Noah was alone with his 3 sons, and they were the one building the ark, and the ark is a big one. It took them many years. And they were also, in a sense, long-suffering, in that they have to withstand the mocking of those around them. Is it true God would send rain? And please bear in mind that they have not seen rain at all during that time. That was how faithless the people were. And that tells you how long-suffering the Lord our God is. Okay, so I want to stress this, that God is long-suffering. And I want you to remember that. So the first point that I have for you, God is long-suffering, and we can see from many other passages, but these two shall be sufficient. The next thing that I want to bring across to you is found in the book of Galatians. So turn with me to Galatians 5:22, and I would like you to read together with me. Galatians 5:22. Together. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness. So you see the word long-suffering there. The fruit of the Spirit is long-suffering. In other words, you and I, who are born again as God's children, we have this fruit of the Spirit. We have this long-suffering, and we must have. Now this is not a choice. I want to put it across first. This is not a choice. According to the teaching of Paul in 1 Thessalonians 5:14, it tells us, or it rather commands us in this manner. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men. So this has to do with within and without the church. Be patient toward all men. It sounded like a command. Due to my weakness in the Greek language, I'm not able to search into it whether it is a command or not. But you look at it. Now we exhort you. Okay, we encourage you. Even if it is not a command here, later on we will see how Paul instructs the people of God to be long-suffering and patient. Remember, it means the same thing in different situations. So here, you and I, we are to be patient with all. If you look into your King James Bible, it is written in italic, the word man. That's why I say both within and without the church. Okay? We ought to be long-suffering, we ought to be patient. And please remember the definition of these two usage. Okay? One is self-restraint, one is not surrendering to circumstances or trials. Okay? Now, we want to study this word more in depth, so bear with me. It's still a few passages to turn to before I go into exposition. James, the book of James now. Please turn to James chapter 5. Be reading to you verses 7 and 8 first. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth and had long patience for it until he received the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth near. Now here we see the word in the original Greek used a few times, at least 3 times. Be patient at the beginning of the verse. Then it was explained as long patience in the middle or towards the end of it, and then in verse 8, be ye also patient. So here it is more of an instruction and command by the Apostle James. Here, let's look at the context, or rather let's study. Be patient, therefore, brethren. It tells us that you and I, we must be patient. We must not surrender to the circumstances that is obstructing us to be a Christian. Okay? Or the trials that we are facing, be it our own health or be it things that will obstruct us. So here, the explanation of how to be patient is actually given in terms of an agriculture manner. Behold, the husbandman, that is the farmer, waited for the precious fruit of the earth and have long patience for it. Many of us, we are not associated with agriculture, so it is not easy to comprehend what it means here. But it is something like, my son, my young son in his primary school or even kindergarten, if my memory is correct, was given a little green bin. And he was told to do an experiment. One put on a cotton patch, don't water it, the other one water, and you see the group. And you see the excitement of the child. Day 1, day 2, day 3, and finally, it is a bean sprout. Though it's a few days, it's short, but this is the best that we can identify being a farmer. I think we have an urban farmer here in Cornelius. Maybe you will understand what I'm saying more. It is like this, be patient. You do what you can and commit it to God. You water you plant the seed, you water it, you put it in the sunlight. It's very easily said to you, but if you are out there slogging on the field, it's no joke, It's back-breaking work. Okay, but during those days, the people, they understand it. So be patient. Be patient regarding the circumstances. And here it has to do with your faith. Here the key is waiting for the coming of the Lord. And you and I, we are going in that direction to our heavenly home. We are waiting on the Lord. And we are told here that we have to be patient. This is a fruit of the Spirit, long-suffering. Okay, it works both ways, remember, both ways. Long-suffering in terms of self-restraint. You sure or not, Jesus is coming again? This is what people will tell you. Are you sure he's born of a virgin? This is Christmas time. Your non-believing friends might be provoking you. Some who are very cunning might try to provoke you to anger. This is where we as Christians ought to display long-suffering. When we are provoked, we exercise self-restraint. Okay? Then, in terms of trials, we also exercise patience because of the hope we have. Yes, this is what the Bible said. If Jesus came one time, right? He came. He was born as a sinless baby. He lived, he died, he resurrected, and the Bible said he will come again. Surely he will come again. So we will not be affected by what others say. Okay, so this is the fruit of the Spirit. Now, as you see, I'm struggling to explain. You know why? I'm going to enter into the third point. Here we got a bit of overlapping. Long-suffering or patience is actually a growing process. A growing process. How patient can you be? Without being tested, you won't know. The long-suffering of a saint is not when you are born again. It's there, means it's there. It is a growing process. That's why it is a fruit. Okay, remember this, God is long-suffering. Then Galatians 5:22 identify for us, long-suffering is a fruit of the Spirit, and you and I have it. And this fruit is growing. So, long-suffering is a growing process. Now, in verse 8, where we are looking at, be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth near. Okay, this is the truth, as I told you. We know for sure that Jesus is coming again. But look at verse 9. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. The word patient there is also the same word in the original language. Okay, it's translated in a few English words, but these two, long-suffering and patience, will be the focus of our study. Now, if you look at verse 10, it tells us that, hey, many years, many prophets of the Lord have spoken in the Lord's name, and what happened? People do not believe in them. They suffer affliction, bodily and even persecution. But what happened? They continue to be patient. Okay, so that's why Peter exhorts you and me. Okay, be ye also patient in verse 8. He referred to the Jews that he was talking to. In our context will be the believers, right? Those who believe on Christ. Fix your heart on the coming of the Lord. Know that truth for sure. And then wait it out. Wait it out. It's a process. Okay, you have to be patient. Wait it out. Then how? Don't grudge one against another. Okay, don't grudge one against another. Now it is very easily said. It is easy to counsel people, but when it happens on your own life, that is the issue. That is the struggle. Correct? I know we all love one another, but we do have our weaknesses. And like I said, long-suffering or patience is a growing process. Okay? Now we're going to look into the Bible. Okay? Because of verse 10, Peter gave the example from the prophets, from their life. So we are going to take examples from the people of God. Okay? And like I told you, when I started to prepare this message, actually I wanted to speak on the life of Paul. The text that I've chosen is 2 Timothy 3:10. But all this took a big turn after yesterday morning staff meeting. Okay? Nonetheless, we will still look into the life of Paul, but I would like to start from the Old Testament. We look into the life of Abraham, the father of faith. Turn with me to Genesis 21. Okay? Genesis 21:25. Or rather 24. We start with verse 24. Genesis 21:24. And Abraham said, I will swear. I will swear. Okay, the context of this, starting from verse 22, goes like that. It came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son. But according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. Now, Abraham's life is a testimony of his long-suffering. Okay, let me clarify first. I'm not saying Abraham is perfect. Remember, we are studying on this word long-suffering, patient. Now, at this point in time, Abraham has already been in the land of Canaan for quite some time. His son was already born and of age, Isaac. And these two, Abimelech and his chief captain, came to him. They have known him for years. According to my understanding, it could be at least 2 or 3 decades, 20 to 30 years. That is how long it is. And they observed and said that, we understood that God is with you. Okay, this has to do with the digging of the well. Abraham has dug many wells, and there were times when it was taken by the servants of Abimelech. We see that in verse 25. Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servant had violently taken away. It was not the first time. It happened many times, but this Abimelech just acted blurred. But we are not going to talk about that. We want to talk about Abraham's long-suffering. And remember, long-suffering and patience. Long-suffering has to do with restraint in the face of provocation. Do you know how important it is to have a well during that time? How difficult it is to dig one. And mind you, those who are rich will have their servants to dig well, because water is a precious commodity. Correct? They got their flocks of animals to feed on. It is all because of water that commotions happen. And we know that it was taken away violently. Had not Abraham restrained himself, had not he been long-suffering? Think about it. It will not be one time, because I told you it's a period of 20 to 30 years. And those who have kind of trying to provoke him, they have seen that God was with him. In other words, they have dug they have dug no water, no well came out. Wherever Abraham, his servant, dig, it became a well. They take over it, thinking that he will not have, but he go to another place and he dig, there is well of water again. And this went on not a day or two, a year or two. It went on for many years, about 20 to 30 years. And finally they come to this conclusion: God is with you. So, like I said, long-suffering is a fruit of the Spirit. As a believer, a born-again believer, we ought to demonstrate such a fruit. People must be able to see in our life. Okay? Here they see the presence of God with them. But we are looking into how it happened. Isn't it the long-suffering of Abraham here? When the servants of Abimelech violently taken away, he just go and dig another well. He was provoked, but he exercised self-restraint. We know that he is the father of faith. He looked forward to the day of Christ, and he just sojourned in that land. He has hope, patiently waiting with hope. With spiritual eyes, he saw the coming of God. So this is about Abraham. Okay, of course, we can study many verses from Genesis, but I want to draw your attention to this point: how patient and long-suffering Abraham was, and so must we. Our challenges may not be what we did, people take away, but it could be in your studies, your project, rightly ought to be yours, but someone put the name there, stole your project. How? What are you going to do? It could be, I don't know, but I think such things do happen. Our credit has been taken by others, sometimes even violently, as in the case of Abraham. But will we exercise long-suffering? So maybe let me share with you. God is the one who gave wisdom to us. People can snatch it away, but time will prove. Remember, long-suffering is a process. Time will prove. If it is your work, it can be seen consistently. Those who snatch it away violently, we know that they cannot produce. Time will tell. They will fail. Others will know. And the others will come to know that God is with us when we acknowledge God. Okay, so this is for you. Now, like I said, I want to study into the life of Apostle Paul. So now turn with me to 2 Timothy 3, and we will read verse 10 together. Okay, these are examples of the saints who were long-suffering and patient. 2 Timothy 3:10. Okay, let's read together. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, and patience. Okay, like I told you, I actually want to stress on his life. In fact, yesterday in the TGCF devotion, I preached from verse 10 to 11. But here, due to the lack of time, we just go into the word long-suffering that we see there. But I want to bring your attention in such a way. Okay, here, Paul was telling Timothy of this. You have fully known. He knows very well what? Paul's doctrine, Paul's manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, and patience. Okay, here we see an order in an order. Because of his doctrine, it determines the way he lives, his manner of life. Then, his manner of life displays the purpose. And in the purpose of his life, it is sin of his faith in the Lord. Because of his faith, you see a patient, a long-suffering God. Okay, the word patient at the end is not the compound word, it is more of a steadfastness there. Okay, that is the Greek word that FABC students very familiar with. It's not the word that we are studying. Okay, so don't be thrown off track. Here, I've been thinking how to share with you Paul's long suffering. Okay, and yeah. So if you look in the life of Paul, generally, the Bible has three statements that Paul said himself. Okay? Firstly, when he was called into the ministry, when he started off, okay, I don't see myself writing the notes here, but then 1 Corinthians 15, verse 9, it reads like that. Paul was equating himself to the apostles. He was saying that I am the least of the apostles. In a sense, he was very arrogant. Put himself right there on top. Okay, this was the beginning of his ministry. Then, towards the end, okay, rather towards the end, we read in Ephesians 3:8, he was saying that he was the less among the saints. Okay. Ephesians 3:8. Since I'm near there, I will read to you. Unto me, who am less than the least of all saints, is this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ. And then towards the end of his life, which is in 1 Timothy, we know this is the last letter that he wrote towards the end of his life. 1 Timothy 1:15. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptation, that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am chief. Why I point out these three verses to you regarding Paul's life is to show you how the more he matured in the faith, the less he sees himself of. Now, from the least of the apostles to the chief of sinners, it shows a big swing. Yeah, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is, as you grow in the faith, you will be more and more humble. You will not say much of you, your learning, your position whatsoever, but you will see yourself more and more of a sinner. When you listen to preachers as they preach, it is the same. When you examine your own life, you must see the same trend. The more truth that we read, the more knowledge that we have of God, so it tells us what? More of our sin. And more of our sin are revealed, we should humble ourselves. Right? So it is a growing process in this manner. Long suffering is a growing process. Maybe to give you a real life illustration. When I was in the Bible college, that would be about 12 years ago, very zealous for the Lord. Not saying now I'm not zealous, but being very zealous of the Lord and cannot withstand certain things. For example, in FABC we do have a prayer group and chapel time. Right, so 7:40 I think, or 7:45 we will gather for a short time of prayer in our own group. 8 o'clock we go for devotion. Right? But there are those who stay up. They don't stay in hostel. So they usually come at 8 o'clock. They are not supposed to, because as a full-time student they must be there. Correct, Andrew? But some of them are not there. Whether deliberate or not, I don't know. I just cannot take it. Especially those from Gethsemane. So what did I do? Number one, Singapore's character, what is that? Complain lah. Complain to pastor. Serious. course, before I complain to pastor, I must clarify. I talk to them first, following the biblical principle in Matthew. Hey, you all cannot, your full-time student must, follow the rules, must come. Of course, that time I stay in. Before I got married, my first 2 semesters I stay in. So this also happened. Then as I grew older in the Bible college, I got married, right? My 3rd semester I stayed out. So I realized in the 3rd semester, it's not easy to be in school by 7:45. And as more responsibility was given to me by Mrs. Stowe to do marketing, then people ask me, hey Kelvin, how come you don't attend prayer group? You don't even attend devotion sometimes. You see? So this is the truth. Not that I don't want to attend. Sometimes I'm on the way to school, I receive the message or call to go and buy tauge, to go and buy this and that. I'm the marketing boy. By motorcycle, by van, I'm the driver. You see? So I learned. What I'm trying to tell you is it's a growing process. I learned to be patient. The same in Gethsemane. When I worked with the GCN committee, when I was first appointed, a bit cannot. Then I again complained to pastor. But then I see pastor's reaction. It's like nothing done. But actually, what he did not tell me. But what I see now is the graciousness of a pastor. Because he had always said this, whether you all catch it or not, we have to be patient. Yeah, he told me this the moment I came to Gethsemane. Not everybody can change immediately. You see? For me, coming from my background and turning and following the Lord, I struggle with those who come from my background. I don't understand why they turn back from the Lord. But I learn to be patient with them. Instead of pointing out what they should not do, I encourage them. Nowadays, it's a growing process. Graciousness. Okay, but we are not studying on graciousness. We are studying on long-suffering. The quality of self-restraint in provocation. Okay, and also the quality that does not surrender to circumstances on our own. It is a growing process, and this has to do with many other aspects of our life, like the display of graciousness. It is always in the time of provocation. What will you do? What will you do? Will you condemn? Will you comfort? So here, in the life of Paul, we see him, okay, in a general term, he become more and more humble. And he said that of all sinners, I'm the chief. It shows of his humility as he matured in the faith. Now, what has it got to do with long-suffering and patience? Okay? As I told you at the beginning, it is a command. Okay? Here, as Paul wrote to the Ephesians, he was in prison already at that time, almost towards the end of his life. He said this, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. Ephesians 4:2 is the verse that we are looking at, but I just read to you from verse 1. Why? Because to set the context, walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. We are all called to be children of God. We are to display the fruit of the Spirit. And how are we going to do it? With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering. That's the word. And he went on to explain, forbearing one another in love. It is not easy to work with another person, because the other person will have his or her individual way of doing things. That's why you always, why is it like that? How come you cannot do it that way? Well, forbearing. That is the way to long suffering. We just have to bear with it. And this is where the display of grace comes about. Many of you are from Gethsemane. Do you know how many preachers there are in the CRC? Have you been there? The space that we have? Yeah. That's the best place to observe how forbearance is practiced. That's the best place to see how long-suffering your preachers are, one towards another. Maybe you can ask Uncle Arnold to install a video and see. It's not all the time. Sometimes we can lose our cool. But then at the end of the day, we remember. Yeah, we remember forbearing one another in love. That is the word, in love. And I always said this. My favorite verse in the book of Ephesians is the last verse of chapter 4. Be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. Long-suffering is such. If God has forgiven me, what can I not forgive? In times of provocation, can I let it go? I must. It's a learning process, it's a growing process. And also in hope, we have to press on this walk that is set before us, to walk worthy of the Lord till He calls us home. Now to conclude, one last verse, Colossians 3:12. Remember I told you it is a command, so I want to end with this verse. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering. Okay? We are only looking at the characteristic long-suffering, but here, like I said, it is a command. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God. We are to display this characteristic of God in our life. This is the fruit of the Spirit, remember? And how are we to do it? Again, Paul emphasized, forbearing one another, forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave him, so also do ye. Okay? So, to conclude everything that we have learned this morning, very simple. I have given you 3 G's. Now we are all in the modern age, but remember 3 G's. What are they? Number 1, God is long-suffering. Number 2 will be Galatians 5:22. Long-suffering is a fruit of the Spirit. It's taken from Galatians 5:22. Number 3, long-suffering is a growing process. Okay, so the 3 G's, growing process. Of course, we pray to the Lord to help us to display long-suffering in times of provocation, and also to display patience as we press on till we meet Him face to face. So let us close with prayer. Our Father in heaven, we come before you with thanksgiving. We know that we are saved to serve, and in serving, we are to serve Thee with long suffering. So Lord, help us to grow in long suffering and in patience, forbearing one another, and that we must remember the truth that we have learned today. Even as you have forgiven us because of Christ, help us to forgive others because of Christ, so that we would not dishonor your word and bring down your great name. We pray, Lord, that you forgive us, and also that we continue to press on towards the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. And we pray this